What's up, everybody?
I
This
don't know if
is
that's any
Henry
better or not.
Fleischer here from the Cannabis Dispatch, also the CBD Business Networking group on Facebook. And I have a very special guest today. I have Cody Claflin of Natural Solutions Hemp Co. So, Cody, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a third generation farmer, and our business is pretty much seed to the end product. We have a consulting business and the custom farming, and then as well as our wholesale retail side. That's really kind of how we started. We realized we wanted to go more straight to consumer. A lot of what we do is grown on contract, for the wholesale market.
Oh, wow. And when did you start your business?
We decided that we wanted to go in 2019. That's when we kind of first, I guess you'd say, incorporated. And then obviously last year was our first full year of growing. We started with 10 acres, and we did it by transplants, really kind of test some theory out, see how things work. And this year we're doing 270 acres from direct seed. So once we kind of felt like we had our methods panned out, we decided to ramp up to what we were offered a contract for.
Oh, got it. And what was it that made you want to go into business as well, too, into the hemp business?
I've been self-employed since I was 21, and I've always been in the agronomy space and the ag space. And, I thought it was a pretty neat opportunity. And me, myself, as far as farming goes, it's a little bit stressful. And I started using some CBD myself, and it was like, wow, this stuff's for real. And that's really neat to start raising a product that you're that close to the consumer. And then, once other people started using it, what we were raising, it was that's pretty, trying the word I'm looking for, but that's pretty neat to see that, you're hearing feedback and how much it's helping people. We have one gal that she's got cancer, and she started using a lot of CBD, and she says it helps, and so that's a pretty neat deal.
Oh, wow. Oh, it's awesome to hear. And what's the toughest thing that you went through when you first opened up?
The toughest thing?
Yep.
Probably all the permitting seemed like that was kind of tough. And then also, I'll just say it, marijuana and hemp, even though they're obviously kind of similar, how you manage that in the field is completely separate. And then also, everybody that's giving advice, I would say they've grown marijuana for years, in their closet, or that's a lot different scale when you start talking outdoor. And, we're not handling 4 and 5 plants. Handling, thousands is obviously a lot different. And so a lot of the advice that I got when we started, those methods, they don't scale. And that's probably the best advice, when I'm seeing it on forums and I'm hearing people talk about, I want to go scale 20 acres. It's like, why don't you start with 1 or 2 first? Because when you've grown 4 or 5 plants, that's even a hell of a lot different, let alone several hundred. The day before we started planting, we had an inch of rain last year and 40-mile-an-hour winds, and we had laid 10 acres of plastic, and half of it come up. And then we had to go out there and go pull that all up by hand. And I've done a lot of stuff, on the farm growing up, and my dad stopped by and he said, "How bad is it?" And I said, This is the hardest damn thing I've ever done." And so if that says anything about, starting out and taking advice, that was probably the worst one. Was I kept following what everybody else thought they needed to do, and more horticulture versus large scale ag, and a lot of the methods they just don't scale.
Ah, got it. If you have to start over from day one, what would you have done differently?
Day one is I greatly underestimated organic weed control. By far, hands down. That's what I spent all winter trying to really understand the methods of how do we control weeds without herbicides. And I'd probably follow my gut instinct, because there's a lot of things I'm like, I really don't know if I want to do that. And every time last year I did something that I didn't want to, it just seems like it just went sideways. And at least if I screw up and I wanted to do it, I don't feel bad and it's on me. But if I screwed up and it was someone else's advice, then it was like, well, I'd rather it be on me than be on them, and feel like they weren't telling me what I need to do. So, I don't think that I really should have wanted to start a lot smaller, because we did enough acres that I really kind of got my butt kicked enough to kind of go back to the drawing board and say, here's what I'm going to do differently. I think those are the biggest things I might do different.
Yeah. Got it. What would you say is the toughest part about having a business in 2021?
Honestly, the banking regulations, they really need to get their shit there. Sorry. When it comes to hemp and marijuana, I mean, that is the hardest damn thing. I'll just be honest. So like my other businesses, for a while, they were blackballed from the bank, and because they thought maybe we were running hemp money through, or even our CBD money, now that we're doing wholesale and retail sales, funneling that money into our other businesses. And so then they wouldn't loan me any more money. They wouldn't let my other businesses operate. We used to own, we sold them all when the housing market went nuts, but we had 14 rentals. We row crop. I've got a seed business. I do consulting. And so the bank basically said, we're not going to let you borrow any more money. And even then we're going to be a pain in the ass on your operating loan. So if the banking regulations were a little more figured out when it comes to hemp, it would make the whole thing, a lot easier. It's not like we have to feel like we're a criminal, even though obviously we have all the permits and, everything's legal and like it's supposed to be, but that makes it really tough.
Got it. If a customer was to choose between your business and 3 others just like yours, why'd you suggest they give you a try first?
I've had a couple people ask me that, especially some other retail shops, and I'm not going to say that we're the best. I mean, there's a lot of people that make some pretty decent products, but something that we do a lot of, and from my agronomy background, the seed to sale tracking, the ability to, we soil sample and test all the way from, the nutrients and not only the heavy metals. We do full heavy metal tests, and those are kind of expensive. All the way in the soil. Then we test the product. Then we even end up testing the final product. We're just trying to make an honest, fairly valued product. We're local. It's just me, my wife, and we've got a salesman. So family-owned business. I got 2 kids. We're not some big, multinational type of company. I've been hit up about some investor groups and such, but I don't, because whatever we have in sales, we put back into the business. So this either sinks or swims based on the quality. And that's kind of where, we're just trying to have a good, honest product. I'm not going to tell you that's the best out there, but I think we have a darn good one. And I think that's about the best, most honest thing I can ask somebody is, give us a shot and see that we just make a good product.
Got you. What's the number one way you currently bring in new customers?
A lot of what we do, considering advertising CBD is kind of tough, from Facebook and such, a lot of word of mouth. And then also our salesman, he's been great. He goes pretty much shop to shop, and just kind of shares our story of, being, direct from the farm. And, we share a lot of pictures from the farm and show people what we're doing and explain what goes into the product. And that's been pretty good. We've, each month, I don't even know where to say I think it'll go or how it's been, because we really only started our wholesale retail brand back in about August, September, and we've multiple folds to where our sales are at today. This month's almost double last month, so it's really starting to gain steam. But that's been the biggest is just word of mouth. I mean, that's the most valuable advertising we've had so far. We really haven't gotten too aggressive on anything else yet.
Got it. What role has the internet played in your business as it has become more prevalent?
It's starting to pick up more, mostly from the social media aspect. And we're getting ready to start working with some more, I'd say, they're pro athletes, not your Derek Jeter kind of pro athletes, but we are working on a lot of CrossFit. So we're really hoping to leverage more of the social media aspect and influencer marketing. And we're not trying to shoot for the biggest. We want people that are relatable, people that can really share, hey, I've used their products myself and they're awesome. That's really what we're after. The marketing aspect is what we're really starting to ramp up. That's kind of next on our goal.
Gotcha. And if you have to take a look 6 months to a year down the line, where would you like to see your business?
From the farming side, what we've discussed is on the wholesale farming, we're raising that for, they're going to end up in big box stores. There's a need for that. There's a, what those companies are looking for. This year like I said, we're 270 acres, and they're wanting us to figure out how we're going to scale to be somewhere closer to 1,000. From the farming side, on the wholesale retail, for me personally, I'd be tickled pink to, be in all across the state. Right now, we're in about 40 stores, mostly in the Southwest region. So, if we could bump that to maybe a couple hundred stores, that'd be wonderful. I think we'd have a good model on our hands. But I don't know. We'll just see where it takes us, I guess.
Gotcha. And on the farming side too, have you ever had to deal with male plants?
A little bit, yeah. Even using feminized seed. I mean, obviously they're out there. We're just very vigilant about it. So we did some custom processing for a guy last year, and they had more seeds on a bumper pull trailer worth of plants than we had on 10 acres. So, I think we did pretty good. I think we had less than maybe a normal cereal bowl of seeds on that 10 acres when we got done. Now, when you start scaling, that's going to change. But we're just trying to stay very proactive about pulling them, and we'll see how that works with the acreage this year.
Yeah, because they're saying too, you don't know if it's a male seed until the land has a rose and still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The feminized seed, obviously, that really helps. Even planting transplants last year, from feminized seed, we still had them. But it's one of those things you don't just up and walk away from it, obviously midsummer. And I think a lot of people that, they go to farming and all of a sudden they're like, well, gosh, this is a hell of a lot of work. It's like, yeah, no shit, it's farming. So I think that's why a lot of guys are really surprised at how many of them are out there. But you definitely have to stay on top of them. You don't go to the lake for a week. I mean, you change your hobbies. We don't take off during the summer. We're going to take off in December, January. So it is a specialty crop. It's not, that's what a lot of guys I think have problems with when I talk about it from the farming side. They're used to, you kind of spray and you come back in the fall and you harvest your crop, versus this takes daily, definitely weekly, if not daily management.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Maybe is that the long-winded version?
Yeah. And on the farming side too, do you guys sell, use biomass to sell it to extractors? How does that work? Who are your customers on that side?
Yep. So we have somebody that we contract grow for, and what they do is they do it on a split when they get to the distillate or the final product. We don't sell biomass just straight by the pound. I'm not trying to race to the bottom. We're still trying to raise more of a premium product, with obviously your seed to sale tracking kind of product. But that's what they do, is they do a split with us, and then they do the extraction.
Oh, God. And this is a question I ask a lot of people too, is which food would you most like to see infused with CBD?
Probably some kind of a drink. I think we have looked at some water solubles, and I think they have their place. Instead of maybe people getting in a macro dose morning and night, maybe they mix that in with something they sip during the day or something like that. I think that's, get little doses, but just more throughout the day. I really think that's maybe seems to be for a lot of people once I've kind of recommended that. But then if they got to take their little tincture bottle or something else, or, put a powder in multiple times a day, it doesn't seem like they use it as much. If it was, hey, I can just grab me a water bottle, I can grab me a Gatorade or something like that, it seems like they're much more likely to use it.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, because which industries do you see being most possibly affected by hemp?
So I did a lot of digging on this over the winter, because while CBD and CBG and all, cannabinoids, that's cool stuff, right? And obviously right now that's what's making money. I think down the road that an animal feed from the seed, or protein, I'd say like a vegetable protein, more or less, a plant-based protein, because more and more people are maybe leaning that route, which I farm cattle. I like meat, but some people don't, so I think that'll be a big impact in that market. And the fiber side, the problem with the fiber side is we don't make jack diddly in this country anymore. I've looked all over. There's about 4 or 5 textile plants in the U.S. So we're going to have to revitalize that to really get the textile and the fiber industry off the ground in the U.S. Because hey, we could sign up all the acres somebody wants if they want to make something out of it. And they go, well, we don't make a whole lot here anymore. That was the story that I started finding. So I think if that would change, I think that would be really big. Being as drought hardy as hemp is, the seed could really work. And I think that needs to be a regional focus. Like Northwest Arkansas, tons of chickens in the country in that area, so that's where a lot of our corn goes. And I think there could be the possibility to raise hemp for that market, for the seed market, to feed chickens. I think that's a possibility.
It makes. I would like to see that too, with more animals being fed like hemp products too. Like it's like with grass-fed steak is a similar thing. It tastes better.
Yeah. I think that's a possibility. But there's a lot of hurdles there. And then what you get into is your supply chain. You have to have enough acres to be able to make that happen. So I think it's a possibility, but then we're going to have to, there's a lot of practices that have to change. I mean, we're still several years away from that, but it's a possibility.
Oh, yeah. And even you mentioned about the textiles too, like hemp clothing is like really good material too. It lasts a long time.
Yeah. The problem is we don't make anything here. So, I mean, you start researching it, start calling people. I mean, when I say I'm persistent, when I was looking for financing for this, I talked to 200-300 banks. I mean, so I've done the same thing trying to find manufacturers. Well, hell, all of our stuff's made in China. So when it comes to clothing, we've got to, there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle to make that work. I think clothing is a great product. Shoes, hardly any shoes are made in the U.S. So, there's a possibility to get moving in that direction, but it's going to take a massive investment. If, somebody's going to be I'm not good enough. Maybe I need to work on that skill of attracting investors to be able to make that whole thing work, because it's going to have to be, you have the farmer here. You can kind of see me. You have the farmer here and you have the manufacturer here. Well, nobody wants to grow it because nobody's making anything out of it. Well, nobody wants to make anything out of it because nobody's growing it. So it's going to take a complete seed to end product infrastructure to make that work. Is that?
Oh, yep.
That's what I think.
I gotcha. And I'm trying to think what other questions I got to. Oh yeah, even like paper too is another industry as well, like hemp paper.
Yep. I've visited with toilet paper manufacturers, and that's exactly what they say is, well, nobody's growing it. And I'm like, well, it's because you guys aren't making anything out of it. We're not making anything out of it because nobody's growing it. So it's kind of a chicken and the egg kind of conversation. And actually, I mean, have you seen the wood prices lately? I think yeah. There's a pretty strong conversation to be had around the possibility of a hemp wood, because we can grow that all over the country. You're not specific to the Southeast. A hurricane's not going to come through and take out a bunch of the trees, and then all of a sudden lumber prices go crazy. I mean, hell, you can grow it all over the place. But it's the same thing. It's just going to take somebody's going to have to put together the private equity to get that off the ground, because you have to have the supply chain to have a consistent factory.
Oh, you're right on that too. I think it would definitely solve the lumber issue, having hemp wood.
It would help. It could help.
Yeah, even not just that too, but it's more bug resistant than the regular wood too.
Mm-hmm. From a non-farming individual, what kind of question would you have? Or anything I'm not answering, maybe. I mean, from a large scale perspective, I mean, have you ever farmed or anything like that?
Oh no. So for those who haven't farmed, like, what's the life cycle? How long does it take to harvest the hemp plant?
Yep. So we're direct seeding right now, other than we're getting a massive amount of rain. But we'd like to plant about April, May, and then we're going to harvest there in about October. So pretty much from planting until harvest is wrapped up, it's, I've told the guys, I mean, you have Sunday off. Maybe, one of them, well, actually I have two full-time guys. One takes off on Saturday and one takes off on Sunday. So we're pretty much here. They're here 6 days a week and I'm here every day. So that's pretty much what our schedule looks like.
So what does the off season look like too after the harvest is done? So like that November to March months?
Preparing equipment. And what we did a lot of this year was I went out and started shopping a lot more on different styles of weeding equipment. those were the big things. We built some of our own custom dryers because I'm not paying custom rates to go dry material. So we spent a lot of time doing that and a lot of time preparing. It's really hard to find help that has an ag background. And so the guys that we have, I've had to teach them a lot of things, tractor operation and stuff like that, to make sure that when it's go time, everybody's on the same page, everybody's prepared. It's kind of like training. You don't show up the first day of basketball practice and go play a game, or not practice, but a game. So, we do a lot of things like that. There's a lot of prep work involved. And looking for financing. That's probably a pretty big part of my off season, especially when we went from 10 acres to 270. I spent a lot of time in that market.
Wow. And trying to think, what are there? Oh, so like, do you guys have like a storage plant too to store all the crops as well after harvest?
Yes. Yep. I have. So we just use my warehouse that I use for my seed business. Yep. And they don't correlate when one's full and one's not. So for us, that was a very good fit that we already had the space to be able to store all the material.
Gotcha. And what advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about entering the hemp business?
Really vet your suppliers and giving in this localized area. I'm a farmer. That's what my family's known for. It's what I'm known for. So we had a lot of people come in, and I'll be honest, they more or less just blew smoke up my ass. They can't follow through with what they say they're going to do. So we went through a lot of those, and until we found the company that we work for now. It's just like chickens. There's like Tyson's and Cargill. People that grow for them, and sometimes some of their contracts stink, and some of them are pretty good. So I kind of use that same philosophy and experience with those people when we started vetting who we're growing for, so that's the biggest thing, is make sure that, I guess everybody's legitimate. I've had more people, like, oh, we've done this, and this, and come to find out they probably haven't done more than 100,000 in sales. So that's not going to sustain a farm. So you very thoroughly vet your supply chain.
Yeah. And how can somebody reach out to your business?
They can, give me a shout. I'm on Facebook, or it's Cody at ns-hemp is my email. That's probably the best way. I guess I can give you my cell number. I don't know if you want to put that on the video. Maybe I don't want my phone blowing up. But that's probably the best way. My email, or hit us up on Facebook. Somebody's always got the phone on them. So.
Oh, awesome. It was great having you on. And if there's anything new you would like to announce with your business, you're more than welcome to be back on.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. Every time I can give the more PR you can get, the better. So.
Yeah, no problem. Awesome.
All right. Thanks.
No problem. Bye.